So as for the question, would I recommend the book? Absolutely, it is a book that will make a small part of you wish that you had an aunt who wanted to give you her adorable little cafe in a small town full of a nosy community. Hi everyone, my name is Tara Westwell and today is Tuesday, which means it's time to discuss our Panic at the Book Club book of the week, which is The Pumpkin Spice Café by Laurie Gilmore. If you like romance, fantasy, or even thriller, basically anything fiction book related, then I suggest you head on over to the channel's intro video, where you can find out more information on how you can take part in this online book club. We announce books at least 4 weeks in advance, and we accept your bookish feedback in a wide manner of ways. Post your comment below a video, send in a voice note, or even send me a short video clip of you discussing the book. Alternatively, you can just send me a direct message. When Jeannie's aunt gives her the beloved Pumpkin Spice Café in the small town of Dream Harbour, Jeannie jumps at the chance for a fresh start away from her boring desk job. Logan is the local farmer who avoids Dream Harbour's gossip at all costs, but Jeannie's arrival has disrupted his routine and he wants nothing to do with the irritatingly upbeat new girl, except he finds himself inexplicitly drawn to her. Will Jeannie's happy-go-lucky attitude win over the grumpy but gorgeous Logan, or has this city girl found the one person in town who won't fall for her charms or her pumpkin spice lattes? So this is a spoiler-free part where first we'll discuss any spoiler-free points before moving on to a clearly marked section of the video which will contain spoilers and more specifics about the book. First, let's start with those chapter lengths. Most of them were around that 10-page mark, so quick and easy to read, perfect for a chapter or two before bed. However, I did read this one in just a little over a day. The book was around 350 pages, although it could have easily have been longer. With the dual POV, we often missed a chunk of time and then kind of caught up with what was happening with either Jeannie's point of view or Logan's. Instead of breaking things down and having every little detail on what was going on, the book really did focus on the romance side. I mean, not too surprising when it comes to a romance book, however, there wasn't actually a ton of information on Jeannie's new life and the running of her cafe. Now, this probably isn't a bad thing. I really did enjoy it, and it probably was around the right length for a romance novel. It was a really nice read, and I liked the fall/autumn vibes that you get throughout the book. It was a really sweet read for October. More than once, I did find myself wishing that I was somewhere where I could satisfy my new craving for pumpkin spice lattes and other cinnamon-filled treats. I really liked the characters, and you know what? It was actually really nice and refreshing to read a romance novel where the main male character does have some very real anxieties and insecurities. Now, don't get me wrong, I like to read about a strong, confident man who we kind of all know isn't all that realistic, but it was also really nice to read about a potential love interest that didn't seem completely fictional. You know, for once, the two main characters were just as messed up as each other in very different, yet also very similar ways. There was quite a bit of spice in the last half of the book, and I don't just mean the lattes and treats, but it did take some time to get there. It was a really slow burn. You also get a pretty good idea on the setup for the other books. I mean, I think the other one is called the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, which I think is going to be around Jeannie's friend who owns the bookstore next door to her cafe. Now, she also has a friend who runs a bakery across from her cafe, which I imagine there's going to be a book about her as well. I love a romance fantasy, so I am used to reading about the love between the same two characters over a period of many books. It is my favourite sort of read, so I used to hate this idea of reading about new characters for each book in the series, but it is growing on me. I mean, obviously this is super common in romance series, and I have read a good few series where this is the case, but I have still thoroughly enjoyed it, so if I had to compare this to any other book, it would absolutely be Done and Dusted by Lila Sage. It's this sort of small town romance with a strong sense of community. I also think maybe something like Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score or Over the Moon by Tess Waters. Now moving on to that part of the video where I suggest if you haven't read this book yet, go do that first, because beyond this point there'll definitely be spoilers. There were a good few times in this book where I just sort of wanted to shake the characters. I mean, they were really nice characters to read about in the sense that they were going through some shit. You know, they both obviously had some stuff to work out. He wasn't just, you know, a handsome man with a toolbox who liked to rescue animals. I know that this can be a really unpopular opinion, but I do actually generally prefer first person, so it did take me a little while to connect with these characters and the story, but you know, I did eventually, and in this case I really do think that it worked for the book. I also think that it really helped to create some interesting symmetry towards the end of the book between the characters and how they were feeling. You know, in chapter 25 it said something along the lines of, her Logan. She liked it. She wanted to keep him. Then in chapter 26, it said something along the lines of, he wanted it. He wanted her. He wanted to keep her. And I just think that that was really sweetly written. I liked the symmetry and it worked really well in the author's writing style. Yeah, I like to annotate my books, and before Logan saw all that paperwork, I knew what was coming. You know, I knew that they were happy and they were falling in love. In fact, Logan was going to tell her that day that he loved her. And so with a good chunk of the book left, you know, there was no possibility that something wasn't going to go wrong. No, it was a little predictable. However, that didn't stop me from writing, no, dude, you've got the wrong idea in the margins when he found the business card and thought that she was leaving him. You know, I was like, just talk to her. And then he did, but then he got all defensive and weird about it. And I was like, no, I didn't mean like that. Anyway, I'm not usually the biggest fan of this misunderstanding book trope, but in this one I really didn't mind so much. I think it was because there was more to it than just some random misunderstanding. Like, they were both working through their traumas, trying to move past it and heal from it. And also not believing that this new relationship will somehow fix them. Like, I don't know, I didn't mind the trope this time. You know, I did like the two main characters, and although I don't feel like I learned all that much about any of the others, I am interested in reading more about them. I do wish that Nana was in it a little more, because I think she was a really interesting character. I warmed to her pretty quickly. To be honest, there was a lot of people and a lot of names kind of floating around, which for this book really made sense. So I am quite glad that we didn't get a ton of context and a ton of information on them, because otherwise I think it would have felt like too much. Plus, this way I don't have to feel too guilty for not remembering half of their names. In a weird way, I'm kind of grateful for this book, because it feels like the first book in ages that hasn't ended in a pregnancy trope in the epilogue. I'm really not a fan of when they feel the need to do that, and actually I thought the epilogue in this one was really sweet. You know, it was a small nod to their relationship moving forward and them working on themselves and being a part of this community in a way that it thrives. You know, there was none of this 5 years later and they can finally be happy because they accidentally got knocked up and, I don't know, one of them finally accepted the marriage proposal. You know, all of that stuff is fine when it's necessary, and I'm just glad that in this case the author knew that it wasn't really needed. So as for the question, would I recommend the book? Absolutely, it is a book that will make a small part of you wish that you had an aunt who wanted to give you her adorable little cafe in a small town full of a nosy community. It was quick and easy to read with a sweet romance, and with characters that, although they could be frustrating at times, you wanted to root for them. So, will I be reading any more by Laurie Gilmore? Absolutely, although I don't think I'll be rushing to it immediately, I will be adding it to my wishlist and hopefully it's something I'll get around to over the next few months. But let me know what you thought. Did you enjoy the book? Gemma said she absolutely devoured this one, a perfect small town romance with low spice. Cute and adorable, she fell in love with Dream Harbour and its characters. Logan and Jeannie were perfect for each other, they were meant to be, and Gemma can't wait to dive into the rest of the series. Heartwarming, welcoming, it felt like coming home. She would highly recommend, and it received a well-deserved 5 stars from Gemma.
Good morning. So this is my review on Pumpkin Spice Café. I brought this copy of the book last year, so it doesn't have all the cool, like, shiny leaves on, which is fine. It's fine. But I actually bought it last year, read about 56%, I think, around there, and then stopped. Not because I wasn't enjoying it, just purely because I'm impatient and I wanted to read Christmas books. So I thought I'll put this down for a year and I'll pick up where I left off. But in that year, I forgot everything. So I started again, which is fine. Probably the best thing to do. I am actually glad that I restarted it though, because Logan last year didn't really do anything for me. He was just like a whatever character. He was the man in the book. Whereas this year, Logan just hit different. Like, there was something about the bearded, quiet man in the plaid shirt who loves animals. I'm saying nothing, but he just did it for me this year. Don't get me wrong, Logan's not a complete book boyfriend that has completely cemented himself into my heart. He's no Gerard Gibson or Atlas Corrigan, who are just, I'm waiting to marry them. But it was really nice to read about, so that's always nice. What I will say about this story is it's very cutesy, very cosy and very autumnal, which is good. However, I feel like the story, though it did have a consistent storyline and it was easy to follow, the story alone wouldn't be that interesting, and I think without the autumnal vibes, it would be a little bit boring. That might be unpopular, I don't know, but I feel like the people who are reading this book are the people who want to be all cosy for autumn and want to have a nice little autumn read on the go. However, I feel like if this didn't provide that sort of, you know, the inner vibes that you're trying to get from it, it would be a little bit boring. I don't know if that makes sense at all, but that's the best way I can word that. I think the best way for me to put it is that the vibes are better than the story. So the feeling you get while you're reading it is better than the story itself. As far as tropes go, it's like a small town romance with a little bit of mystery in there. It's not smutty, but there is a little bit of smut sprinkled in. However, it is my least favourite trope, which is miscommunication trope. It just frustrates me. Just reading a book about people and it just constantly goes back and forth because somebody isn't communicating, just frustrates me to read about. And in this book there's like 2 miscommunication tropes, one with Jeannie and Logan, the 2 like main characters, and then there's also a miscommunication trope with some other characters, but I won't say because I don't want to potentially spoil it. But yeah, I wouldn't knock it down my recommended list to recommend to people because I know 100% it's a me problem because I don't like the trope. It's not a really bad one, don't get me wrong. It's not like massively frustrating for me, but it was there and I don't like that trope. So that's all I can say about that, really. As far as reading the book, it is a really easy read. The text is huge, and also it has the thing where every chapter starts on the right hand page. So even, I'm trying to find an example and I can't find one. A new chapter always starts on the right hand page. So even if you finish on a right hand page, it'll skip a page like this. So like the last chapter finished there, and it just like basically skips a page and starts again there. I don't know why people do that other than to make the book a little bit longer, but there's probably actually a genuine reason behind it, but I don't know it. So yeah, but that itself makes it feel like it's going so much quicker, because every now and again you just completely skip a page. So it is a very quick, very easy read, definitely. So I rated this book a 4-star, mainly because of what I said about the vibes being better than the story. I feel like maybe if the story was a little bit more gripping, it'd have maybe knocked it up to a 5. But as it stands, it's a 4 from me. I would recommend it though, especially if somebody wants a cute autumn, warm, cosy read. This would be perfect. I have been told that it's got Gilmore Girl vibes. I've never watched Gilmore Girls personally. I do want to for the autumn vibes. However, I'm not great with American TV because I really like British humour. So I've always sort of put it off, but always said, oh, I do want to watch it though. So if you do like Gilmore Girls, I think you'll really like this. So that's my review on Pumpkin Spice Café. I am, however, going to leave you with my favourite quote from the whole book, which is, "Fall was better for snuggling and eating food covered in gravy." I love that. That is my autumn to a T. Cosy, cuddles and gravy. I love that. So, yeah.
Next week, we'll be discussing My Roommate's a Vampire by Jenna Levine. So don't forget to get your comments and thoughts in by Monday the 28th of October at the latest to be a part of the discussion. You can now do this on YouTube, TikTok or Instagram. The following week will be The Midnight Man, but don't forget, if you do need a little bit longer to read a book, we do now list the next 4 books down below, along with the discussion dates. That way you can choose the genre that best suits you and the best time frame to read it in. Thank you all for joining, and if you like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It's always appreciated, and I will see you next week. Bye!